Welcome to PPE 3003, Personality Psychology, where we explore the science of becoming who we are. We begin with a powerful quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald: "Personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures. Through fitness, faith, and the fight, my life shows that personality isn't fixed. It is shaped by the storms we survive and the choices we repeat." The structure of personality is often described as a system of patterns. These patterns of thoughts, emotions, motivations, and behaviors remain relatively stable over time. Freud's classic model breaks personality down into three parts: the ID, driven by instinct, the ego, governed by reality, and the superego, focused on morality. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Here's a fun fact. Early psychologists debated whether personality was one core self or multiple selves, depending on the context. A key statistic: personality traits show 40 to 60% heritability, meaning environment matters just as much as biology in shaping who we become. It might seem weird, but people can show completely different personalities at work versus at home and still be psychologically healthy. My personal connection to this structure: growing up, I wrestled between survival instincts, the discipline from the Navy, and the moral compass of my faith. Reflecting on the structure of personality, my early anger and distrust came from wounds buried deep, unconscious forces I had to face before I could grow. Next, we look at trait theories, specifically the five-factor model. Personality is measured across 5 traits, summarized by the acronym OCEAN: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. In my life, openness meant leaving Louisiana for new horizons. Conscientiousness reflects my strong work ethic in the Navy and in fitness. Extroversion is my ability to connect with people while working. Agreeableness is my empathy, which was born from pain. Neuroticism relates to the anxiety and guilt I had to control. I am, as the quote says, a mixture of the man I was, the man I am, and the man I hope to be. Fun fact about the Big Five: this model appears consistently across cultures and languages, even in isolated societies. Weirdly, high conscientiousness predicts a longer life expectancy more strongly than a high IQ. The statistic here is that Big Five traits remain remarkably stable after age 30, but small changes can still happen. My reflection on trait theories is that my traits aren't fixed. They flex with experience and reflection. Humanistic theories from Maslow and Rogers focus on self-actualization, free will, growth, and meaning, moving away from pathology. I have always sought purpose beyond survival, through education, writing, fatherhood, and spiritual peace. Abraham Maslow stated, "What a man can be, he must be." Fun fact: Maslow studied exceptional people, not average ones, to understand human potential. Here's a weird addition. Maslow later added a level above self-actualization called self-transcendence, which involves service, faith, and purpose. Statistically, people who report meaning and purpose show lower stress and better mental health outcomes. My memoir is proof of a man chasing wholeness, climbing Maslow's pyramid through faith and fitness. Behaviorism, associated with Skinner and Bandura, views personality as learned behavior through reinforcement, modeling, and social learning. I learned resilience from pain and patience from experience. My mentors and mistakes were my teachers. Fun fact: behaviorists often avoided terms like mind or self entirely in their work. It is weird to consider that if reinforcement changes, even long-held habits can change almost instantly. Statistically, behavioral interventions remain among the most effective tools for habit change and addiction treatment. As Aristotle wisely put it, we are what we repeatedly do. My personal reflection is that my habits, whether working out or writing, trained my personality more than any theory. Cognitive theories of personality emphasize that thoughts influence emotions and behavior. I learned that my internal dialogue determined my direction, and renewing my thoughts brought freedom. Proverbs chapter 23 verse 7 states, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Here's a fun fact: 2 people can experience the same event and form opposite personalities because of how they interpret the situation. It is weird that your brain filters over 90% of information automatically. Personality shapes what you even notice. Statistically, cognitive-based therapies show strong effectiveness for anxiety and depression across different populations. My reflection is that fitness was mental before it was physical. Belief shaped my body and my destiny. Finally, we consider biological influences. Genetics, brain chemistry, and hormones all affect personality. While I may have inherited strength, life experiences molded them into discipline, and exercise naturally balanced my body's chemistry. Fun fact: identical twins raised apart often show uncanny personality similarities, highlighting the role of genetics. Weirdly, gut bacteria may influence mood, impulsivity, and emotional regulation. The statistic shows that temperament can be observed in infants as young as a few weeks old. We close with a quote, "The body keeps the score." My reflection on biological influences is personal. Working out was not vanity for me. It was medicine for my mind, regulating my emotions and improving my mental state. Next, we examine personality development across the lifespan, focusing on Erikson's stages of psychosocial development and how they connect to life. My reflection involves healing the parts of Erikson's stages that were left unfinished, showing that development is a continuous process. A fun fact about aging: people tend to become more agreeable and emotionally stable as they grow older. Statistically, long-term studies confirm that personality continues to change well into midlife and beyond.